I want to ask you, and I ask this with all seriousness, whether it is possible to observe the world, to observe yourself without any control whatsoever. I'm not speaking of control in the physical sense, but that deep internal mechanism of judgment, that entity we might call the censor, which is perpetually in operation. This censor is the very essence of resistance. It is the act of suppression, the turning away, or even that rather silly, sophisticated excuse of saying, well, I have no control anyway, which is just another escape from the fact. So I'm asking, can you and I observe? And I don't mean is it possible as a theoretical question, but can we actually observe without this censor intervening? You see, someone might ask, but isn't wanting to gain something interfering with attention? And my God, of course it is. The moment you want to gain something from observation, whether it is peace or enlightenment or freedom from your anxiety, doesn't that very desire prevent the seeing? If you are observing in order to get a result, you are no longer observing. You are bargaining, you are pursuing a goal, and your eyes are fixed on the prize, not on the fact of what is. After all, if one truly sees what is happening in the world and, more importantly, what is happening in oneself, this fantastic, terrifying violence, this deep-seated aggression with all the subtle things implied in it, what is our response? We play with the ideology of non-violence. We adopt it as a creed, a uniform, which is just idiocy. It's a game. The real inquiry is to see the implications of violence, the violence in our speech, in our ambitions, in our comparisons, in our very search for security, and to be totally, completely free of it, not as an achievement to be proud of, but through a profound understanding of the whole nature of this dreadful thing. This leads to another question, doesn't it? Is this observation, this true, uncontaminated seeing, something that happens only occasionally, a flash of insight in a moment of crisis or quiet, or is it something one can be doing all one's waking hours? As we are here, listening, perhaps discussing, are you observing in the sense we have just talked about? An observation which includes listening, seeing, and learning, all as one single, indivisible movement. You might ask if this can happen all during the day, or perhaps only partially, or even during the period of sleep. But I am not concerned with sleep, not yet. The real question is whether this is an occasional accident or a total way of living. And I must tell you, it must happen all the time, otherwise it has no point at all. It's just another distraction, another sensation, a spiritual hobby. From this, a much more serious problem arises, which is that the censor, this internal judge, is very deeply rooted in us, isn't it? It's not just a surface habit. It is deep down in one's very being. One can learn to observe superficially, consciously, without the observer. That is, I can look at you, at the color of your shirt, at the trees, and learn the trick of not condemning, not judging. That's comparatively easy if one has gone into it, if one has practiced that little known art, but that is only polishing the surface. There is this deep-rooted censor in the very recesses, in the dungeons of one's own being, in the dark caves of one's heart, and it operates from there. How does it happen that one can bring all of that out into the light? I don't know if this interests you at all, but seems to me the only thing worth inquiring into. We are not talking about ending the past once and for all, not quite. That's a different question for the moment. The problem that must strike everybody, if we are honest, is this. I can be superficially observant. I can train myself like an animal to watch, to be mindful, as is the popular phrase. I have seen so many people who have listened to this kind of talk and say, I'm going to train myself to be very attentive, and they put a tremendous artificial effort into it during the daytime. But what happens when they go to sleep? Inattention takes charge. The censor, which was only suppressed by this training, takes over the moment the strain of that artificial attention is released. And so, sleep, for most of us, becomes merely a period of profound inattention. That censor, which is generally quiet when we are consciously watching, takes charge at the moment of inattention. It projects the dreams, it sorts, it files, it continues its work of preserving the past. Am I saying anything scandalous? It seems to be a simple fact. So, when we see this, when we see that the trained artificial attention of the day only creates a backlash of inattention at night, what happens? Someone might ask, will this inquiry lead to a state where one can be asleep with your eyes open? But you see, that is jumping to a conclusion, isn't it? That's looking for a result, a fantastic, poetic state. And we haven't even understood the first thing about our actual state. We must find out. We must see what takes place, because you and I are inquiring, not seeking a predetermined reward. I am not a guru offering a new state of consciousness. We are simply looking at the fact of our own lives. And the fact is, one can be attentive off and on during the day, watching, training oneself like an animal to watch. And I've seen this with a great many people who have listened to this kind of talk for years. They say, I'm going to train myself to be very attentive. And they put tremendous agonizing effort into paying attention during the daytime. This is the modern religion of mindfulness as a technique, isn't it? You practice for 10 minutes on your app, you train your mind to be present, you learn the trick of observing your breath, all in order to get something, to get peace, to get focus, to be a better, more efficient, less anxious person. But because this attention is so artificial, so much a product of will and desire, the moment they go to sleep, total inattention takes charge. The strain is released, and the unexamined, chaotic, hidden part of the mind takes over. Do you accept this? Do you see it for yourself? It must be believable, because we also see that even in the waking state, most of our life is inattention, isn't it? We are lost in thought, in memory, in planning, in fear. But let's pass that over for a moment and stick to this question of sleep. You might say, I can't say one way or another what happens when I am asleep, and that is the whole problem. We have cordoned off 8 hours of our life as a mystery, while the very same consciousness that operates during the day is still operating then. So the only question that matters, is how to expose the censor completely. Not just the superficial censor that I can train, but the one that's hidden, the one that is the past. Will that affect the sleeping state? You will see. Let's go into it. Let's find out together. Don't ask me for the answer because you and I are exploring, and if I give you an answer, it is worthless. So, what is the function of sleep? I don't know if you've ever seriously asked this. Is it merely a period of inattention, if I may use that word without spoiling your rest? Or is it a period which is, or could be, something entirely different, a period of real, profound attention? You see, if there is a censor, if this hidden judge, this collection of memories and fears is still operating, then sleep must be a state of inattention. It is the sensor's playground. Someone might then propose, are you saying that attention must be as deeply rooted as the sensor in order to function? No, it's not in order to achieve something, because that implies a motive, a gain. The fact is, to live without any form of control, without this constant grinding resistance, which is the very nature of violence, the sensor must come to an end. It's not about overlaying it with a deeper attention. It's about the cessation of the sensor altogether. And so we are asking this sensor, so deeply hidden as he is, how does it happen that the whole of that is exposed? What do you say? I don't know. You might suggest you have to definitely extend the bounds of your awareness. But wait, look at what you are saying. You are aware right now of such a small portion of your own consciousness, and you say you must extend it. How? Who is the you that is going to extend it? Isn't that just more effort, more will, more of the same sensor trying to improve itself? You're implying we must extend this attention not only horizontally, covering more of the things we already know, but vertically, going deep down into the very dungeons of our being. After all our science, all our psychological knowledge is horizontal knowledge, accumulating more facts on the same level, but this is a vertical inquiry, not only up towards some idea of super consciousness, but deep, deep down into the dark. Do you understand my question? We observe that there is a superficial consciousness with all its resistance and censorship in action, and in that superficial observation, one can learn a great deal, one can polish the top floor of the house. But can that observation, that same light, enter into the hidden recesses, into the cellar? Now, you might feel, I personally feel, that is possible, and one of my ways of doing that, strangely enough, happens when I dream. You might say, I have an awareness while I'm dreaming, I know I'm dreaming, and when I'm finished with my dream, I look at it like a puzzle and I put the whole thing together, and very often I find some secret key to myself that is troubling me, and it's over, finished. I have discovered something. So, if I understand you rightly, you are saying that dreams and the interpretation of dreams help one to pull out the sensor, to expose it. Is that it? But I must ask a more fundamental question. Why do you dream at all? You might reply, perhaps because I am not living in my everyday life as I should. So because one doesn't live with total attention during the daytime, sleep and dreams become a necessity to work out all the conflicts, the contradictions, the unfulfilled desires. I question this whole process. I ask, why should I dream at all? Not I must dream in order to expose my censor. But why is the brain so restless, so active, even in sleep? You see, the implication, if you are using dreams to find a key to understand, you are keeping the brain cells and the mind tremendously active all the time during the day, during the night. The whole machinery is operating, churning, processing, analyzing. It never ever rests. Is that freedom? Is that intelligence? Or is it just a clever, self enclosed trap? So I am asking whether dreams are at all necessary, or if they are, like so many of our other clever activities, just another symptom of a mind that is constantly in motion, never quiet, never resting. And if we see that, if we see the trap of using dreams as a key, we must also see the futility of that other great modern tradition, which is analysis. I'm sorry if there are any analysts present, truly. I mean no disrespect, but we must rule it out, mustn't we? We've gone into this before, but it bears repeating. The very process of analysis implies time. It implies an interval between the problem and the solution. And in that interval, the problem mutates. Analysis demands an analyzer and the thing to be analyzed, where one fragment of your own consciousness assumes the authority, the supreme knowledge, to judge and operate on another fragment, which is an absurd internal division. To me, personally, that entire approach has no meaning because it's a game of the mind chasing its own tail. Then how is all this to be exposed? I don't know if you are as interested in this as I am, but personally, I am tremendously, deeply seized by this question because if the sensor is in operation at the deeper layers of one's consciousness, if the foundations of the house are rotting, and I am only polishing the surface, polishing the top floor, then my life has no real meaning. It has a superficial, social meaning, a respectable veneer, but it is totally and utterly irrelevant to the fact of my own inner chaos and violence. So, how does it happen? How does this total exposure come about? Without analysis. And this is the key, without searching. The moment you use the word searching, you must see all the difficulties inherent in it, because searching implies a seeker, an I who is going on a quest. This is the grand romantic image of our culture, the spiritual seeker. We go to India, we go to retreats, we read books, we follow gurus, we sit in meditation, we download the apps, all in the act of seeking. But who is this seeker? The seeker is the past. The seeker is the bundle of memories, experiences, and desires, and he's looking for something. And because he is the past, when he finds something, he must be able to recognize it. That is the trap. Recognition means you are observing through the filter of what you already know. You compare what you find against your memory, against the book, against the teacher's promise, and you say, this is it, this is the state I was looking for, or this is bad, I'll keep this good feeling, I'll discard that bad one. This entire operation is the censor, the past, merely rearranging the furniture in the same old room. I don't know if you are following all this. How do you answer this question? No. You might say to me, but when one truly observes, it doesn't seem that there is a censor there. When one is observing, there isn't the person watching. But no, madam, With respect, you haven't quite understood the depth of the question. Let us use the metaphor of a house. In the cellar, a great many things are hidden, the monsters, the fears, the ancient pains, the collective wounds, and I have spent my life superficially polishing the top floor, making the living room presentable for guests. In the cellar, all these dreadful things are operating, influencing the whole house. And I'm asking, how do I get at that? How do I clean up the whole house, not just the part I show to the public? And you might ask, quite rightly, doesn't the act of observation in itself reveal all this? Is that what you're saying? Now, please be very careful here. Is this from your actual daily experience? Or is this just a guess, a supposition? Because we can invent a lot of lovely theories, and that's no good. It's just more dust. You are asking, are you whether such an observation where the observer is the observed and therefore there is no censor, is itself the factor that reveals the whole content of the cellar? This is the crucial point, which is, and I'm not doubting you if there is no analysis, if we have seen the futility of that whole approach, then the time element involved in analysis has gone out of it. Do you see? The idea of taking time, day after day, month after month, to dig between the top floor and the bottom floor, that whole process is gone because the process is time. When we understand the false process of analysis, we also understand the false process of psychological time, and therefore we eliminate time. I don't know if you do, but we must. Therefore, the observation we are speaking of must be free from time. It isn't a process where I am partially awake during the day and then sleep reveals through dreams the contents of the unconscious and I slowly piece it together. That all involves time, this idea of gradual progress, of becoming free tomorrow. I have no time for that. To me, psychological time is a horror. I say that logically, not emotionally. It is a horror because time implies an interval between what is and what should be, an interval between the problem and the solution. And in that interval, 1,000 other incidents, stresses, strains, and events happen which change the course, which distract, which pull you away. It's like trying to get to a destination while constantly being led down detours. Time is, therefore, a most distracting, distorting affair. So, when one realizes that, when one sees the truth of that fact, that psychological time is a distortion, then where are you? Then what is observation without time? I wonder if you are getting all of this. When we are faced with this, the fact that psychological time is a horror, a complete distortion, someone inevitably asks the most intelligent question. If you are fully attentive, is there a cellar? That is the whole point, sir. The cellar, the unconscious, the hidden recesses only exist in opposition to the polished top floor, the I who is conscious. This division is the work of the censor, the work of time. But in a state of total attention, an attention that is not a training or an effort, is there any division? Is there an up and a down? Or is there just seeing a total field of light in which nothing can hide? But we are so quick to misunderstand. You might say, I know this. It's those moments when I am not expecting anything, then I am fully attentive. But I don't want moments. I am not interested in occasionally having food. That's just another sensation, another spiritual experience to add to my collection of memories, which only strengthens the past, strengthens the censor. One's life is much too short for these games. I want to enjoy the mountains and the trees, the loveliness of a human face, the extraordinary beauty of the earth. And as long as this inner division, this conflict, this censor isn't clear, there is no joy in life. There cannot be. Joy is always now. It is not something you achieve tomorrow, nor is it something you remember from yesterday. So we come back to this. Time is a factor which is most destructive. And I ask again, is there observation without time? Now let's see what is implied in that single question. It means observation without the censor, which is the past. It means observation without resistance, which is the sensor's action. It means observation without control, which is the sensor's method. It means observation without a motive, without an achievement, because all motives and achievements are born of the past and projected into the future, which is the movement of time. I don't know if you see the enormous weight of this. What does such observation mean? Is it even possible? Or are we merely pursuing a fancy, a beautiful romantic dream, a lovely thing to be like that, but in the end it is just vain, it has no meaning in our brutal everyday life? You see, the whole world, all the traditions tell you to train yourself, practice. Watch how you move your toe, your finger, your mind, your thought. Watch, 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 they say. Take time, take years, spend your whole life at it. And I ask at the end of it, what have you got? You have trained yourself like a clever animal. You have grooved the brain to follow a new pattern. What is the grand achievement? To not have reactions when you see something beautiful or something ugly. To be so controlled that you are dead. This is what they are after, which is so utterly, profoundly idiotic. I don't want to go into all of it, but you may laugh, and yet, sir, the monks throughout the world have trained themselves to this for thousands of years. They walk with their eyes to the ground. They never see the beauty of the earth, the astonishing beauty of a tree, the beauty of a woman or a man. It is just the book and their idea of Jesus, or salvation, or truth, or enlightenment. It's just an idea, and their life becomes a battle, an everlasting, grinding, inward war against their own nature, never a single moment of real beauty, of tremendous, uncaused enjoyment of life. So, if I am serious, if you are serious, I must find this out. It isn't just a dream, it must be either so or it is not so. Which means either the mind must everlastingly dwell in conflict, and that is its only habitation, that's the law of life. And if that is a reality, then it's all right, we must accept it. That means violence is absolutely part of life, part of man. And all we can do is tame it, control it, shape it, be violent in certain acceptable directions and peaceful in others. But I say that is an impossible, contradictory, and ugly way to live. So, in inquiring, not theoretically, but actually to experiment, means to put it to the test, to test it as you go along. Now, in this room, is there an awareness? in which there is a total absence of the censor with all its implications. And how does it happen? It cannot happen tomorrow. It must happen now. If it happens tomorrow, it has no meaning, because when it happens tomorrow, I have already built dozens of new resistances. I have already distorted it. I have taken a detour to come to tomorrow, and that detour, that path of time, leads me hopelessly off. So, at the end of all this, is the mind, your mind, aware of all this? Aware in the sense of seeing the truth of it, not just agreeing with the idea of the truth. Do you see the truth of naming and how it separates you from the fact? Do you see the truth of not naming? Do you see that the description is never the described? Do you see the truth of the desire to seek and all its implications of a seeker who is the past? Do you see the truth of control, the truth of resistance, the truth of time? To see the truth of it, the fact of it, now is the only observation. And in that seeing, which is not in time, the house is whole. There is no cellar and there is no top floor. There is only life.